Introducing a new podcast. Karen Hunter is awesome.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're gonna love me. And Karen Hunter is awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of the Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. So check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed.
Karen Hunter is awesome. A new podcast from Karen Hunter.
The Karen Bass slander is not going to fare well here, at least. Mayor of Los Angeles. The lies about her cutting the budget for the fire department, that is a lie. She did not cut the fire department's budget. The LA Times actually pushed this out. And we already have known that the LA Times is run by a South African Chinese national who pledged fealty to Donald Trump before the election and refused to allow his editorial board to endorse Kamala Harris. So why is he now pushing a narrative that is not true? So now we cannot trust the LA Times. For years, we could trust the LA Times. It was a bastion of good journalism. Pulitzer Prize winners abound. Now the LA Times is suspect. They pushed a narrative that is absolutely not true. It is a lie. This is misinformation. She did not cut the budget. As a matter of fact, the city was in the process of negotiating a new contract with the fire department at the time that the budget was being crafted. So additional funding for the department was set aside in a separate fund until the deal was finalized. And they gave more money to police. So let's stop doing that. As a matter of fact, Reese Colbert, this is her area of expertise. People don't know Reese. Reese, y'all know her on the airwaves with Clay and them and her show on Saturdays right here on Urban View. 2 p.m. Eastern, 2 to 4. But this is what she does for a living. So she went to the TikTok, and I appreciate this. Play the clips, Ms.
We are not going to have Operation Blame the Black Woman, Mayor Karen Bass, for the fact that the Los Angeles fires are not contained on my watch. The right wing never lets a good crisis go to waste. So, of course, they're using this as an opportunity to cast aspersions on Mayor Karen Bass and throw DEI in there while they're at it. But the reality is that the fires are not contained because of catastrophic drought conditions coupled with hurricane force winds. The fact that they're trying to make this a narrative about the Los Angeles Fire Department budget actually does more to impugn the work of the first responders than it does of Karen Bass. Even though it's nothing more than a distraction, I know how people get when they want to hold on to something and run with it. So I actually have 2 decades of experience in developing budgets, analyzing budgets, and doing expenditure variance analysis. $17 million is 2% of the Los Angeles Fire Department budget. A budget is a measuring stick. It is not a blood oath. It does not preclude the fire department from spending more than what they are allocated, which is evidenced by the fact that in fiscal year 23-24, they spent $66 million more than they were allocated. And so I looked at the Los Angeles Fire Department budget, and I kind of see what they did, given the fact that there was a revenue shortfall and they had to make cuts somewhere. The savings that they're expected to get in salaries and operating supplies, that gets you to the $17 million that was cut. So there are valid critiques to make about budget priorities, but the notion that that has any impact on the fires right now is blatantly false. And if you are regurgitating that, then what you're doing is you're carrying water for the right-wing media that wants to blame brush fires on DEI instead of climate change.
Correct. Yes. And Jasmine Crockett, Representative Jasmine Crockett from Texas's 30th district, was on CNN with Abby Phillip. I think I saw Representative Plaskett on as well, and the Scott Jennings, who has become central casting for knuckle dragging, ignorant people that you put on the air to spew nonsense so that we can get angry, so that you can raise your ratings. Stop doing that. We don't need any more anxiety. Put on credible people who actually have something of value to give the audience. And maybe your ratings will go up, CNN, if you commit yourself to feeding us good information instead of flame throwing from people like Scott Jennings. But Jasmine Crockett gathered him, and I guess that's part of the thing too. So we'll bring on somebody that's gonna Audie. I forgot Audie's last name. Who gathered him on the religion stuff? Audie Cornish. So you bring on Black women to gather him. That's not our job. It's your job to program. It's your job to program good people that we can trust. It's not Black women's job to come on and check this mother freaker.
Yes, I'm going to be honest. Like, this is my biggest frustration with the news media. It is literally a show. You want to have people come on and argue and debate and create this like angsty narrative that we can carry into our homes and take into our relationships and have over our brunches. And I am entirely done with allowing the toxicity into my space. Like please give me information that is useful. Give it to me from people who are credible. Make sure that you are putting yourself in the position to be the kind of fact-checking organization that you have the dollars and bandwidth to be. And beyond that, I don't need the extra. Like the emotional back and forth. Most of us are exhausted. Most of us are burned out. Most of us are trying to navigate the changing landscape. We don't know what's going to happen with this new, administration coming in. We are having a lot of angst and predictions around that, whether you voted for the man or not. Actually, the anxiety is across the board. So it's like, I would like for us to care, speaking of community, speaking of Thrive Thursday, I would like for our news community to care a lot more about our well-being and make sure that we are appropriately informed, especially since we know that, our social media platforms are no longer concerned or invested in that happening. So
they never were.
Correct.
So they just went back to their default. That's it.
It's true.
As a dog returns to its vomit. Jasmine Crockett had this to say. Smith, play it.
Signal priorities, because also in California, you might have recall a news story from last year. There was some interest in the fire departments and the firefighters in California. And the interest was that there were too many white men who were firefighters, and we need to have a program in California to make sure we don't have enough white men as firefighters. So we have DEI, we have budget cuts, and yet I'm wondering now, if your house is burning down, how much do you care what color the firefighters are?
You can respond and then
listen. I am so tired. You know what? There was an article that just came out that said that actually the most educated demographic in this country right now is Black women. So let me be clear. Because you are a woman, or because I know that some of the right has been sharing these photos of the fact that I believe that the fire chief may be a woman or something, that has nothing to do with it. We are looking at qualifications. What diversity, equity, and inclusion has always been about is saying, you know what? Open this up. Don't just look at the white men. Open it up and recognize that other people can be qualified. And the fact that we want to, at a time when people are dying, decide that a country of immigrants is failing, or people are dying because the same very people that built this country, because the last time I checked, y'all didn't say that anything was wrong with the White House. And I can promise you, it was my ancestors that built the White House. So listen, if we have been good enough to build this country, we are good enough to serve and die overseas, we are good enough to serve in other ways. And the fact that people actually decide that they want to engage in public service, whether it's sitting in Congress or whether it's serving on the fire department or the police department, should not be an issue. The fact is, stop trying to act as if only white men are the ones that are capable. Because right now, you're sitting at a table with 3 very capable Black women.
That part.
Yeah.
Police chief of Los Angeles is Kristen Crowley. She is a 22-year veteran of the LAFD. So not only does she have she's risen through the ranks, was a paramedic, engineer, fire inspector, captain, battalion chief, assistant chief, deputy chief, chief deputy, and now fire chief. She is more than qualified. And I think, this red herring that they're throwing out is a distraction, but it's also very, very willful. They are doing something, and it worked.